Hey you guys, it is William calling from Movie Blogs, and we are so excited because we are going global, live to Husavik in Iceland, the home of the Eurovision movie. We're gonna talk to Orly and Leonardo, who run the Eurovision exhibition. We're gonna beam over to a special interview with Tara Hitchcock from Los Angeles, and we're gonna meet David Dobkin, director of the Eurovision movie. So much to talk about. But first off, Orly and Leonardo, hello.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you?
So good. You know, it's been 2 years since Husavik, the song, got nominated for the Oscar, and you, of course, were a huge part of that Best Song nomination. First question for you both. How has the movie impacted your daily lives in Husavik?
Well, our daily lives will never be the same, I think. I mean, this has brought so much joy and so many fun people into our lives, and it made us actually start this whole project of putting up this exhibition. So it's been a real change for us, but also for the town.
Also for the town now, we have one more attraction for people, one more reason for people to come to Husavik. This is the whale-watching capital of Iceland, but now it's also the Eurovision capital of Iceland, and we are getting people from all over the world to come here and visit this tiny but unique place that we managed to put together.
And are the whales still jumping out of the water in unison to music?
Well, they listen to music. It's maybe not as magical as in the film. It was quite a lot there, but it's every time a magical moment when you see, especially the blue whales, which are the largest mammals who have lived on this earth, and they are living among us here, right outside this tiny town.
But you don't see them from the arbor like in the movie.
No,
you have to be honest.
You have to go out on a boat, but
Yes.
it's a fun experience. And having this movie and like having people come here in a sort of a pilgrimage to Husavik now because of this movie, it's changed the atmosphere here. We have, I would say, not so many more people, but we have more fun people coming to Husavik. And it's of course the Eurovision community, and also a big community of fans of Will Ferrell who are coming here because of the movie.
And one thing I wanted to ask you was about the beautiful Oscar song presentation that you had there with Molly Sandén. Beautiful chorus of children. It was an elaborate setup. Do these kids talk about it all the time? Was that one of the biggest events to happen in the town?
It was, and I mean, imagine for these girls who were 10 and 11 years old at the time to get the chance to perform at the Oscars. They come from a tiny village on a remote part of a tiny island, and then all of a sudden they find themselves singing at the Oscars. I mean, you can't make this stuff up, really.
You know, after that performance at the Oscars, we got postcards from some people around the world thanking the girls because of their singing, and that Oscar performance was amazing. And for many people around the world, that was the moment that Husavik became everybody's hometown. So now this place represents a lot for many people around the world. Also because of the timing of this movie. You know, this movie came out during the pandemic, the worst part of COVID. Many people watched it during that difficult time, and they decided, some of these people, the first trip after pandemic will be to Iceland, will be to Husavik.
And I think there's also another thing to this, because this film it deals so much with the hometown and the home, and it comes out during a time when a lot of people are stuck at home, and also a lot of people are stuck away from home. So you have all these strong emotions, and then this film sort of encapsulates it all in this song. So even though it's about Husavik, I think for people all around the world, it was about their feelings, and that's why it resonated so well with people all over the world.
And of course, people go back to their hometown. I'm curious, will there be a sequel, and will Husavik feature?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we will show you the interview that we had done with David Dobkin, the director of the film, later on in the streaming. We of course asked him, and he has a lot of ideas for a sequel or a prequel, and he's super interested. I know and he will tell you that both Will and Rachel are interested to do that as well. And we were so blessed that he wanted, after the Oscar campaign, he wanted to come here and thank everyone. So he came recently to visit us here in Húsavík. We had a wonderful day with him here. He got to explore the town as a tourist, and he got to meet the girls of the Oscar choir, the actor who played Oscar Oscarsson. So it was a nice time for him to come and really say thank you to everyone in Húsavík, and we enjoyed his company. Whether or not it will feature Húsavík, if there is going to be a second film, I don't know, but I think they should really definitely look into continuing this story, because there are so many interesting characters there.
And of course, you two are continuing the story with your Eurovision exhibition, which has been very popular both domestically with tourists and also people coming from abroad. How are you changing the exhibition as time rolls on?
Yes, in theory, this might be the last summer. The coming summer should be, or might be, the last summer for this exhibition, because this was a temporary project and it was supposed to be 3 years. This is the third year after we opened the exhibition. So we want to make the best summer ever for this place. We are making it better. That's why, thank also to you and Viviblogs, we managed to reach a lot of people and Eurovision fans from around the world. We got more than 60 applications for our volunteering campaign this winter, and we managed to host 10 Eurovision fans coming here and giving some of their time to make this thing better. For example, in this room where we are now, which is the cafe, the Jaja Ding Dong Bar and Cafe, now we have some artwork on our walls, which has been made by Soteris. He's a landscape architect from Cyprus, and he came here and used recycled fishing nets from the harbor. He painted them, and now they are some art installation in our cafe. And inside the net now we have some iconic Eurovision moments, some pictures from the Eurovision history selected by the local school children. So we went into the school, they chose their favorite song in the history of Eurovision, and they designed, the children from the school, the frames. So the frames of these pictures are made using recycled materials, plastic and cans and whatever they could find. So this project puts together, you know, the local culture, fishing, Eurovision and recycling.
So officially it's ending after this season, but as you can hear, we are trying our best to make it even better. We're hoping to get a conversation with Netflix going in the next weeks, so to explore if there's any chance to extend it by 1 or 2 years, because we love it. We don't want it to go, but it was set up as a temporary project. We have all these things on loan, so let's see how it goes. But if you definitely want to see it, you should come this summer, if it doesn't get extended. But we're keeping our fingers crossed.
Yeah, me too. It'd be a shame if everything went back into a closet somewhere. It needs to be out in the world with the people, and we're better than Húsavík. Let's take a look at that interview with David Dobkin. I'm really excited to see what he teases.
One of the amazing people we got to know during the week when we were filming Molly's performance for the Oscars was entertainment reporter Tara Hitchcock,
who just happened to be in Iceland that same week. Tara became a big part of our Oscar campaign, and when David Dobkin, the director of the Eurovision movie, came back to Húsavík recently, we asked Tara to interview him about his experience making the film in Húsavík and if we'll see more of Lars and Sigrid in the future.
Yeah. Quick backstory. I've been to Iceland. I've been so fortunate. I've been 4 times. And
oh, wow.
I went by myself.
Sorry, it's so windy.
Right when the volcano erupted, because I wanted to hike the volcano. And I wasn't scheduled to go to Húsavík, but I had done the junket for your film, interviewing Will and Rachel and Dan.
My son has that microphone and annoys the crap out of us by singing into it constantly throughout the house. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because of the weather, to make a long story short, I tend to get very lucky on my travels, by the way. I ended up in Húsavík without a place to stay. And when I got there to the wharf, there were all these cameras set up, like clearly they were shooting a movie. And it turned out I ended up there on the day they were filming Molly's performance for the Oscars. And I ended up, of course, I'm a journalist, so I have my microphone wherever I go.
Yeah, it's about 7 hours later here in Husavik, Iceland.
I met the mayor, met Orly. That's how I am involved in this. They
I'm
were
so glad that happened to you. You're part of this little amazing story now.
My name is Oscar Oskarsson. Welcome to my hometown, Husavik.
You know, they put this campaign together, and you know, it didn't even matter. The nomination was the win for us. We just thought it was just so wonderful, and we know it would have never happened without Orly and everybody here.
Well, this is about you, so let me backtrack. Is it true, let's talk Iceland for a second. Is it true that the first suggestion you ever got to even go to Iceland was from Christopher Nolan?
Yes, it was. Christopher Nolan was the person who said, I once was going to go on a vacation and I hadn't been for a long time. And I saw Chris and I said, where would you go? And he goes, Iceland without question. It's my #1 favorite place in the world. He had just shot Interstellar here. And he just loves it here, and he was just crazy. I said, really? Are my kids going to be engaged and whatever? But then I got the script, and the script was a really funny script. It was very short, and it was 89 pages only at that time. And it was actually, there was another town that was written in, who I will not name who that was, what town that was. But I went around and I looked at every single place in all of Iceland. I looked at every town in Iceland, and the minute I remember I saw the pictures of Husavik online when they came up and I saw the church and the boats, I was like, that's it. Of course, the movie studio said, we're not sending you all the way there. Can't you shoot this in Scotland? It looks the same. I was like, no, it doesn't, and that's not how we're gonna do it. And by the way, you know, I wanted to do something that Eurovision fans would feel was legit and authentic, and that people that were here in Iceland would feel really proud of. So I fell in love with Husavik when I saw it. I went so far as I wrote the song with the town's name in it, or I had the song written with Husavik as the title, and they were still telling me, no, you're not going there. It was too expensive, it's too far, can't you just do it in Reykjavik? And I was like, no, it's got to be this place. And then eventually I told Will, I said, there's going to be a moment in time where they're going to make a big fuss, and you have to get my back and say this is important for the movie. It's supposed to be somewhere that he was supposed to return to and care about and have an emotional feeling with. And I had an emotional connection when I saw it. And when I landed here, I had a very big emotional connection. I immediately started to soak it up. And the people were wonderful.
Ever since we were children, we've had one dream.
Well, what's so cool about the movie, you capture clearly, you know, the whales breaching every time you look into the water, the iceberg melting when there's an argument. You know, we may or may not be brother and sister. It seems like everybody, you know, is somehow related. But you are so charming in the way this town and the people of Iceland are addressed. Was that a fine line to walk, be funny, but with a lot of heart?
We wanted to be funny, but we wanted to be respectful. So, you know, we kind of had to make a comedy inside the world of Eurovision and inside the world of Iceland, as opposed to, you know, I don't like movies that make fun of people or have you know, I think there was just so much warmth to the character and warmth to Will. But I will say that coming here was really kind of the cherry on top and really sealed it for me. Once I walked around and I met the people and I had a meal and I was all this, I felt it. I felt like how special this was and that people were really proud of it. And it was right for our movie, because our movie was about, Eurovision is about home. I mean, I know it's a nationalism thing, a nationalistic thing, but it is about sharing. It is about going back to where you came from and your pride and your understanding of that. And so the movie was not about that originally in theme, and it became that, and this town helped it become that. So it really played a very deep and important part of what the movie became for all of us.
I gotta be honest, I've never seen a town embrace a film more, and I know that there are different, you know, obviously there are treks to movie locations all the time. What was your thought when the song's nominated for an Oscar and then this whole Oscar for Oscar campaign begins? I just thought it was one of the coolest things I've ever seen. What were you thinking at the time?
Help Husavik to get shiny new Oscar!
It was genius. I mean, honestly, New Line was not involved. They kind of called me and said, listen, there's this thing that's happening. We think it's great. We want your approval. They showed me the first thing that Orly and everybody here made, and I was like, oh my God, like it's the charm campaign of all time. Like, can we possibly pull it off? And even to the point, by the way, there was talk in that Oscars of not having any live performances. And the whole idea of getting Molly all the way here and to sing here and the children's choir, the whole thing was incredible. It was unbelievable, and there's no doubt in my mind. Look, we made what's called the short edit, the shortcut, which is the short list of movies. Of the 1,000 movies that were nominated or that were to be considered that year, there were 1,000 songs. We made the final 15. I believe it was this campaign that got us into the final 5.
It's one thing to perform it in a studio. So what was it like to perform it here?
Like from one of the first notes, I felt a tear. Like it was so unreal. This song is huge, and the message of the movie, it's so beautiful. So I'm just really proud to be a little part of that.
And by the way, and not to be like, congratulations to whoever won, but your song wasn't used properly in the movie the way that the Oscars dictated should be. In fact, we're the only nominee that was used inside the body of the film and not during the end credits, and to story effect. So I believe that, Husavik should have won anyways.
Well, I've got a soft spot. I'm kind of with you. I've got a soft spot. But let's talk for the other song, obviously. Jaja Ding Dong. And I know you cast a lot of Icelandic actors who just killed it. How long did it take you to get that song out of your head? Because it's still in mine.
Yeah, that song is so funny. And we were laughing when we first heard it. There were a few versions that came through, but when this version came through that Savan Koteka wrote, we were laughing so hard. And we were like, okay, this is the song. And in fact, we were like, now we're going to use it again at the end, because it was only happened one time. And we were like, no, we'll use it at the end again. Like, now he's proud to play it. And it was super great. And that song has become, that's what's crazy, is that's after Husavik. That's the most remembered song in the whole movie. I mean, everybody loves that song. And, you walk around when you land in Reykjavik and you're walking through the streets, you see the t-shirts in the window. It's really funny. Another thing that was really important to us was to really use, or important to me was to really use Icelandic actors, as many as possible. And again, the movie studio was like, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, it's Eurovision. Like, everyone's going to feel like, I'm not going to teach all these people Icelandic accents and stuff. And these actors, it turns out, were excellent. They were so good. And I was really impressed. And I was like, there's a whole mini Hollywood here of people that are really well experienced. The production companies were great. The actors were fantastic. And it made it really joyful. And when they were all there for their scenes together, they could feed off of each other. And it was great for Will and Rachel, too, with their accents as they were, wrestling to try to get it right. They had people in the room to work with. So that was really fun.
Well, and clearly the actor who just cannot move on without hearing that song.
Get back in there right now and play Jaja Ding Dong!
And has so much passion mixed with anger. Yeah. And I mean, he nailed it.
I do want to say that when Olaf came in and was auditioning for a bunch of parts, because I loved him. But it wasn't until he did that one line that I was like, oh my God, that's so funny. We created the whole scene and the whole thing because of him. Like, it was all improvisation when he comes out and he screams for him to come back inside. That was unscripted, incredibly wonderful actor moment, between Will and Olaf.
I am Lars, this is Sigrid.
Which reminds me, how Icelandic is the name Lars? Because I've been there a few times. I don't know if I've met a Lars
I'm not sure. I don't think Lars is an Icelandic name. I think it is the name of someone that the writer Harper Steele and Will came up with because they thought it sounded really funny. And there's some backstory they gave me about the mom and where it came from, and I was like, it's fine. We don't have to be that accurate. But it was really funny because somebody corrected us here a couple of times. A couple of Icelandic crew said, Lars is not really a...
Two quick things. What's it like to stand there at the Eurovision Museum in the town of Husavik and see photos behind you and basically see an homage to Eurovision and your film?
It's so moving. I'm so impressed. I had no idea it was going to be this big, and that they were going to have props and all kinds of stuff. And I love that it is all the Icelandic history of Eurovision, and you can learn from it. It's really wonderful. I mean, yesterday, you have to understand, people come off of the cruise ships here, and they now come here to see the Eurovision Museum. It's the only one in the world. And they come here to see it. And apparently yesterday, because it was closed to get ready for the opening, there were people outside crying to get in that had come all this way from Canada.
Is this one of the first times you get to actually be a tourist in Husavik? Because you were working last time. I'd love to hear, did you go to GOC yesterday? Like, what have you been doing?
We went to the geothermal baths because those are insane, and this is the most beautiful one in all of Iceland. I've never gone to the Blue Lagoon, nothing wrong with it. I knew that was like a... Once I went here, everybody told me you shouldn't go to any others. So we've been there twice. We plan to go tomorrow morning again. But we've been walking around and just seeing where everything was shot and showing my children and my wife is amazing because, and for me, because when I am making a movie, I'm usually seeing the inside of my hotel room in a scout van. So I don't have a chance to really enjoy it. And we've just been really loving being here and driving around the Diamond Circle and all that.
And they've got a bus stop thanks to you now.
I know the bus stop. I don't think there's a bus that stops there, but it's funny that everybody comes and looks for the bus stop. It's really wonderful.
David, the big question, is there going to be a Eurovision Song Contest, The Story of Fire Saga 2?
The Story of Fire Saga continues. We're waiting. That is up to Netflix, but I know that Will and Rachel and I would love to do it, so we're down. We're down to come back here.